4 knockouts, 8 submissions, 4 decisions. Is Chase Hooper any good? Don't get it twisted. You are looking at an extremely dangerous martial artist, even if he does just look like your average 11th grader named Chase. Bear witness to the gooner himself. Chase Hooper is one of the sport's most fluid and dangerous ground fighters around. If you want fun grappling, you need to watch Chase Hooper. This isn't stalling or cage clinching, he is a non-stop scrambler with serious submission abilities. Chase is a great example of a raw prodigy that needed a ton of polishing coming in, and the perfect way to do that is just stay active. Hooper's been putting that work in from a really young age, and the rate at which he's improving is honestly astonishing. I appreciate his hard work. He's not a talker, he's a doer. I feel like whenever I listen to him in interviews, he's genuine, honest, and just happy to be there. Chase entered the UFC at just 20 and was quickly labeled as a baby-faced one-trick pony whose only ability was to look for chokes. But the real question with Chase is, do you think he's shown enough to be given that big step up in the rankings, or is the slow build the move for him? He took some defeats early on, but they were not too harsh damage-wise, and I think good for his growth. His stand-up began to improve, such as his variety of weapons, volume, power, and striking IQ, and he hasn't strayed far from his strongest attribute, which is being impossible to control and at all times dangerous to grapple with. We saw him take a bad TKO loss to, you guessed it, Steve fucking Garcia, who just can't help but beat the piss out of the fighters I love. But this bloody finish really lit a fire inside of Hooper, and he's delivered 5 straight victories since moving up to lightweight, where he's filled into the weight class a lot better and yet to take a loss professionally. Maybe that's because he's only fought the bottom of the barrel and 2 stone-aged veterans, Clay Guida and Jim Miller. He'll take on the basic but powerful power puncher, Alexander Hernandez, August 16th, in what should be either a clean sweep for him with the grappling, easy sub win, or a rude awakening that there's still more work to be done with his defense and stand-up. So let's study Chase Hooper. Is he being spoon-fed by the matchmakers with simple matchups, or is he really just that damn good and ready for a step up in competition? Because at only 25, he's in the Joshua Van club of young workhorses who look ahead and not behind. Chase Hooper, a scrappy ground battler with a massive arsenal of submissions in his repertoire. Striking accuracy 55%, strikes landed per minute 4.5. These striking numbers are good, but Hooper really lacks punch power and relies on spazzy volume and some decent front kicks. Strikes absorbed per minute 2.9, takedown average 2.5, submission average 2.2. He's shooting proper BJJ takedowns, going for body locks, and even securing the ankle, which is highly underutilized. Takedown accuracy of 34%. Strike defense, 39%. Here's the hole in Chase's game. His level of comfort and understanding of the pocket is pretty concerning, especially headed into his next matchup against a power-punching one-trick. Takedown defense, 55%. Pretty irrelevant. He wants to be on the ground or in a scramble at all times. Knockdown average, 0.1. Average fight time of 10 minutes, 9 seconds. Strengths, rowdy, unorthodox, high grappling IQ. Hooper wins when he can force his opponent into his world, jiu-jitsu. From there, he is super hard to control and will often lead his opponent into nightmarish positions where subs begin to present themselves. In all other areas, his size and unpredictability are a nice touch. Weaknesses, raw striking, wild at times. Chase struggles on the feet against good strikers. He lacks this professional polish that 95% of other UFC fighters have because of his grappling base, but this is improving over time. I often catch him spinning, taking his eyes off his opponent, and not protecting his chin. These issues were a lot more common when he was 20, 21 years old, just arriving in the UFC, but they still exist and need to be mentioned. Best performance, out-goofying Jordan Levitt. Levitt is the goofball at lightweight, but is sneaky strong and underrated at wrestling. These two got gay with it immediately into the fight, and the scrambles were super entertaining. 10 out of 10 scramble fest, highly recommend. Levitt was sneaking in good damage as Chase hunted for dominant positions and sub-opportunities, but eventually was reversed and forced to tap. Here's what I like about Hooper. He takes no issue with being manhandled by wrestlers, he almost welcomes it. And this fight was an excellent showcase of how he's never out of offensive options, and even fighters with physicality advantages aren't safe. It's not so much that physical power matters, but rather flexibility and BJJ understanding, which Hooper has in spades. Most fun, his slobber knocker with Daniel Tamer. They gave Chase a little midge for his debut back when he was just 20 to give him the best chance at a clean debut. But 10 seconds in and he's already stunned with a heavy overhand from this Cabbage Patch Kid, and the fight became chaotic. Chase shoots a telegraph takedown and lands himself in a tight front choke, but scales the cage and bails out effectively. But as wild as these scrambles look, Chase is always looking for options and staying one step ahead. He threatened the arm of Tamer and used that to improve position to back mount. He didn't get the choke here, but Tamer toughed through it, I'll give him credit for that. But Chase slithered and slimed his way to whatever this hellish position is called and rained down a barrage of elbows to close out the fight and secure his debut into the big leagues. This one's pretty quick, but shows Chase at his most raw, most inexperienced, but also his most fun, even if he did almost get highlighted within the first 10 seconds. Upcoming matchup, Alexander Hernandez. Quick history lesson on Alex Hernandez. A nasty one-punch KO over the very respectable Beneil Dariush made him truly believe he was destined for greatness, and we saw this man's ego grow to insane proportions. He went full delusional and started shit-talking many fighters, but most notably his current rival at the time, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Long story short, he failed to land his classic big bomb and got the shit kicked out of him. And since that humbling defeat many years ago, he has remained unbelievably average. A physical freak, yes, but low urgency, low durability, and no real X factor to speak of. Which is why I think this is actually the perfect test for Hooper right now. He's been fighting mostly old heads, but this is a step in the right direction for preparing him for more elite names he will eventually face in, say, 2 to 3 years. We need to see him dialed in on the feet because Hernandez does pack power. This has me a little concerned, but this is a spot where Chase will really shine with his grappling savvy. So, the Gooner himself, Chase Hooper. What else can I say other than he's one of us? He's always reminded me of just one of the boys. His casual, carefree demeanor is what the UFC needs more of. Characters. Or in reality, just people fully confident in not only their fighting abilities, but their personality as well. Chase really lets it shine. This dude is a young veteran who I have just a ton of respect for, and so should you. Because Chase is one of these young guys that has entered the UFC as a specialist, which can really go one of two ways. You can A, get the Darren Till treatment. The company pushes you too fast and there's not enough time to grow and actually not even take losses, but face adversity and be forced to grow out of your style, what makes you a specialist. Or there's option B, where the specialist fighter has to take some early adversity. They need to be chin-checked or they need to be out-wrestled, out-cardioed, to be forced to evolve into a better fighter. And so in Chase's early career, he took a few decision losses where he was outpointed and shown on the feet that he just didn't have the goods. But I think that Steve Garcia loss was just a brutal, rude awakening that forced him to change a weight class, gain a bit of size, and just really come correct in the stand-up and just understand that he needs to polish everything together before he can turn into a real top-level contender. Chase is a real one. Chase is one of those guys that I would eventually like to maybe even one day have on the channel for like a Discord call or something. He just seems like a really chill dude, so I would be absolutely ecstatic. Let's make it happen. As always, thank you guys for watching. Drop your favorite Hooper moment down below.
On the ground and all that. Spent too much time gooning this camp, so my forearms are a little sore, so we're going to walk that back a little bit, but yeah.